What up, YouTube Lakes, coming at you with another Starcraft 2 cast. On the top right-hand side of the map, we have our blue Protoss player Fenring, and on the bottom left-hand side of the map, we have our red Zerg player Bess. You might recognize Fenring. I think this is my third game of his that I am casting, and he had some really cool strategies that he was throwing down in the previous games, so I'm excited to see what he has to show us today. It looks like there's two probes running down the map immediately. I want to say this looks a little bit cheesy, I'm not gonna lie, and it is going to be a pylon behind the natural base of the Zerg player. What is this going to be? Is this going to be mega proxy, like, gateways? Or no, it's going to be a cannon rush, so he is cannon rushing his Zerg opponent. This probe being chased, I think this probe, the second probe, briefly showed itself here on the ramp, but I think Bez might have missed this. I think he's fixated on killing this scouting probe right here. Tried to get the surround on it briefly, and it does look like he got the surround on the probe. Unfortunately, Fenring not able to save it in time. Now, we don't see cannon rushes too often against Zerg players, unfortunately. You can't build on creep, so this cannon rush is likely going to be in an attempt to deny the natural base of the Zerg player and then throw down some cheese out of this gateway. I don't really know what he can do here unless he tries to build a cannon right here, but I don't think it's going to do much aside from deny this extractor. Oh no, this probe getting surrounded by the drones. Now, if you don't know, you can mineral walk your probe, and what that means is if you select your probe and you right click on a mineral patch, it will walk through the units and be able to save itself. So just keep in mind, if you are trying to throw down a cannon rush just like Fenring, you will be able to save your probe from getting surrounded in the situation that the drones or the SCVs or the probes do get it. You can mineral walk and get yourself out of that surround. We already have another probe right here to give some support to this this position here of Fenring, but we do have the spine crawler right here, and it is going to be what is a creep tumor. This will allow this spine crawler here to get into range of these photon cannons once this creep gets to the right side of the Zerg base, and it will be in, I think, range of both of these photon cannons if he places it just at the very edge, and there is no high ground vision for the Protoss player, so these photon cannons will be blind. Without vision, you can't attack units on the high ground, so this spine crawler will have free reign on these photon cannons here. And taking a look at the Protoss side of the base, we have the cybernetics core here, and we have double mining assimilators. And I was going to say, I think this might be a Stargate, and it is. I wonder if we're going to see some sort of Oracle harassment behind this, or if he's going straight sky toss. And we do have the spine crawler coming down to the edge of the right side of the Zerg base. It will be able to take out these photon cannons. Great use of the creep tumor here as well. It will be able to deny any forward buildings from the Protoss player. It looks like Fenring trying to throw down the shield battery to mitigate some of this, but without the high ground vision, it's kind of a moot point right now. Going for an adept. At this point, I think I would go for a Stalker. Adepts are very good early harassment units. They're very good against Zerglings and Workers, but not so good against the heavier units like the Ravagers here, and they will easily be able to destroy this Adept, and I think clean this up for the Zerg side of the map here. This will allow Zerg to expand, finally take the expansion. In the situation of the Protoss player, I would suggest Fenring to expand right here. All these buildings are going to be destroyed. We have the drone right here hiding, waiting for its big brothers to finish this up. It wants to turn into a hatchery so bad, and it does. And taking a look at the production tab, it does look like we have a Nexus coming down for Fenring as well. So both bases coming down simultaneously for each player. It looks like this is going to slowly but surely go from a cheesy game to a macro game right now. For a second, I thought those units were going to go for the attack right here, and I would say that that would not be a bad choice. As the Zerg player, just putting yourself in the shoes of Bess for a moment, that was a lot of production that was destroyed, a lot of money that was put into that. Taking a look at the units lost tab here, that's almost 1,000 resources lost to almost nothing. So at this point, you could assume that you're ahead of your opponent and at least poke the natural base of your opponent and see what's going on and possibly win the game. If not, no big deal, you just run back home. But it looks like this is going to be Void Rays coming from Fenring, so no Oracle harassment. He's just going for the Sky Toss play. His Nexus is finishing up right now. And what I would have suggested for Fenring in this situation here, when his buildings were still alive and you saw that there was no expansion right here, assuming that there's no expansion in the third base location as well, and he knows it, there's a pylon right here blocking it, which I missed. You could expand and put yourself one base ahead of your enemy Zerg player. And as a Zerg player, you want to be 1 or 2 bases ahead of your opponent, just because the nature of how Zerg operates, your income and your macro are very closely tied together, and having extra expansions just adds to both of that. And the hatchery is cheaper than a Nexus and a command center, so you can get them faster than the other two races. So just the nature of how Zerg operates, typically you want to be 1 or 2 bases ahead of the enemy. But now it looks like these Void Rays are going to try and throw down some hurt. We do have the Spore Crawler here. There's no Spore Crawler right here though. Fenring could snipe this queen if he so choosed, and he could also start cleaning up some of the mineral line here for the enemy player, but deciding to go back home instead. We do have another Spore Crawler here. This will be able to fortify this position here pretty well for the Zerg player. Spore Crawlers are just such insane anti-air. 2 Void Rays would not stand a chance, especially backed by a queen. Taking a look at the Protoss side of the base of the map though, this is a fleet beacon. We are going to be seeing carriers coming out from these stargates. This is going to be a wild game, folks. And what I would say, just how my game sense works in these situations, if I'm cannon rushed and then is followed up with Void Rays, I know Stargates are on the map. I know he already tried to cheese me. What other stupid builds are there to deal with? And I would immediately expect carriers. I'd be like, this guy's going carriers. There's no way he's not. He already cheesed me. What other silly builds are out there? And it looks like this hatchery will be briefly denied by this pylon. We'll see how long it takes for Bez to respond to this. But anyway, as I was saying, oh yeah, and it does look like Bez does see this pretty quickly here. Will be able to melt this pylon and get his third base. But what I would like to see from Bez at this point is a Spire, just because I saw the Void Rays, right? We saw the cheese in the beginning. The only other silly play in existence for Protoss at this point in the game is going to be carriers. So I would throw down a preemptive Spire and get a few Corruptors, or at least give myself the ability to throw down a few Corruptors if I had to. I would also send a Ling over to the Protoss side of the map, and maybe an Overlord at this point. A Zergling would be a cheaper form of scouting, and you already know there's anti-air, so a Zergling would probably be a better choice right here. Taking a look, he's already starting to mine from the third base location, but looking at the mini-map here, it looks like he might be going for a hidden third base, which I don't think is a bad call at this point necessarily. He does have flying units that could support this, but at the same time, carriers are pretty slow, and it looks like we have a push coming from Bez right now. He's got to be careful though, because looking at this position for the Protoss player, this is 3 shield batteries and 3 carriers. You don't want to engage this in the natural location. You want to make sure you catch this army out of position of all these supporting structures here. Otherwise, you will just lose your army. It looks like Bez does notice that there's 2 mining probes here in the third base location. These probes might actually divert attention from the hidden base of the Protoss player, because it looked like he was going to want to expand here. And taking a look at this engagement, this is exactly what I was talking about. You do not want to engage that army right next to what is 2 photon cannons and 3 shield batteries. He lost so many hydralisks right there. Now he's down to 4 hydras, 4 carriers. They do not stand a chance. But at this point, I think Bez assumes that Fenring is on 2 base still, because he saw Fenring mining from the third base location. It looked a lot like he was getting ready to expand there, but doesn't realize there's a hidden expansion on the left side of the base. All those hydralisks melted to these 4 carriers, and at this point, it looks like this third hatchery is going to go down. This is going to push Zerg down to 2 bases. No, not the probe. I just noticed this probe is trying to get in on some of the action here. Almost got eaten alive by broodlings, but this probe getting a front row seat to the madness that is the push from 4 carriers. We do have 11 hydralisks on the way, and we have a Spire that's about halfway done, but at this point, I think it's going to be too late. Oh no, these hydralisks, are they going to attack the probe? They do not. They know that there is a more important situation here to deal with, but unfortunately these hydralisks coming from 3 different locations, they came in a staggered formation. That gave the carriers a lot of time to deal with the anti-air, but this hero hydralisk able to take out one of the carriers. Fenring throwing out the Manor GG, the preemptive GG. He's not even the one losing the game. What a troll. But to be fair, at this point, Zerg is pushed down to 1 mining base. Bez, super strat, Fenring agreeing with him, and unfortunately, carriers are so hard to deal with if you're not prepared for them. Oh my god, Bez throwing out the enjoy, leaving the game, giving the victory to Fenring. Yeah, the unfortunate situation there. If you're not prepared for carriers, they're just too hard to deal with. But I would say those Void Rays were a tell that you should have had Aspire out a little bit sooner, just to be prepared for what is likely going to be carriers, just based on how this game played out. Cheese into air units. Carriers are not an unlikely event, so very fun game. If you enjoyed what you saw, please shoot me a like and subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. And if you want me to cast any of your own games, I will leave my email in the description below. And I'll see you guys on the next one.